Guess who's back? Back again. Brother Ron, tell some friends. Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me out there? Let's see. Can y'all hear me? Can you feel me? Can you hear me? Okay. Welcome back, family, friends, scholars, and laymen. This is Brother Ron, where we all be news free Dixie for the 21st century. It's round midnight, man. It's a Saturday night, or it's another Saturday night, and it's round about midnight. Just want to come in, tune out, to tune in again when you fit in. I have some things on my mind. Close out the week. You know, Saturday is the Sabbath. Sunday is actually the beginning of a new week, and we all be in it to win it. You see, so yeah, but I had a couple things I want to talk about. It's been on my mind. There's a lot of things going on in the world. If you have not been in a comatose state for the last 48 hours, it's a lot of things that make it go crazy. But we all be in it to win it. Like I said, God is still on the throne. God is still in the driver's seat. And there's a lot to talk about. Can you dig it? Yes, you can. And also, I want to close out. This was the Jimmy Lunsford Jamboree Festival week as well, too. But it didn't seem like it because, I don't know, man. It's been interesting being Brother Ron in the city of so-called good abode, known as Memphis, Tennessee. And, wait a minute. Hold up, wait a minute. And y'all know that Baba Dick Gregory, somebody said, rest in peace. Richard Gregory, most definitely. I don't know if he's resting in peace. Dick Gregory, for me at least, is still very active beyond the grave. Like, Dick Gregory be sending me signals and signs and reminders that playtime is over, and that when the universal God chooses you to put on a pair of magic glasses, you cannot make anybody see what you see. Do you see what I see? Probably not, but it is what it is. Like Dr. King said, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. And let me get a little bit adjusted. I got some things I want to check in and check out on. Man, there's a lot coming up for me this week. A lot of interesting things. It's going to benefit you all. So I hope y'all support what we do over here. Because, we doing things to benefit the people. Dick Gregory said, I was the feeder. I got to feed the people. Even when I'm tired, even when things are not looking the best, I still got to feed the people by any means necessary. So I take that stuff seriously. And you live in a world where people are more enamored with bread and circuses than they are with revolution, with self-improvement, with self-actualization, and with self-determination. People are more concerned. I think I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. I probably more than likely won't be watching the Super Bowl. I probably more than likely will like to be by myself, to meditate, to focus on me, to heal myself, to look inwards for solutions. I don't care about, if Patrick Mahomes get another Super Bowl ring, or if Aaron Rodgers make a comeback and he take on the Green Bay Packers as a Steeler. It doesn't really change my reality, whoever wins the Super Bowl. It doesn't change my reality, whoever wins the World Series. It really doesn't matter. Baseball really hasn't mattered to me since Barry Lamar Bonds was forced out of baseball. Baseball is a joke, is a travesty. I used to love baseball growing up, right? I used to love baseball. My favorite baseball player was Barry Lamar Bonds. Even when he was with the Pirates, he was my favorite baseball player. I love the Braves, Terry Pendleton. I love Kirby Puckett, Minnesota Twins, Dave Winfield, Tony Gwynn. Hey, I'm Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn. Yeah, Ted Williams was the greatest hitter of all time. You know, Tony Gwynn was from California, very talented athlete. He also could play NBA basketball level. I think he got drafted for the NBA as well as Major League Baseball. I think Dave Winfield got drafted baseball and basketball. And they both from the hood. They both from L.A. They both from South L.A., I believe. But I used to love hearing Tony Gwynn talk. Yeah, me and Ted Williams talked the other day, and we talk about hitting, how you choke on the bat. And I think the last person who could probably hit 400 could be Barry Bonds. He got the speed, the bat discipline. I didn't even know he was dead, Tony Gwynn, for years. That he died because he used to chew that tobacco, that chewing tobacco that a lot of baseball players used to do back in the day. He was very prolific at it. There's a couple of baseball players that got cancer because of chewing tobacco. I didn't know Tony Gwynn was dead for a couple of years. And I was sad about it because I remember like back in the 90s when baseball was great. Around the time of the baseball strike, I think he was flirting with hitting 400. And the baseball season was cut short. I think one year they didn't even have a World Series. But, look at the Dodgers dominating, it's pretty cool to hear about it. They got the Japanese player, the Japanese import. They say he's better than Babe Ruth. I mean, Barry Lamar Bonds is the greatest baseball player in my lifetime, period. Even before he got big, he was already spectacular, first ballot Hall of Famer. And it was a joy to watch. I mean, Barry Bonds, it's weird to me if you think about critical thinking, right? He was never found guilty of doing anything illegal, but yet his career was shortened. It was conspiracy by the commissioner as well as by the baseball owners, I believe. Because Barry Bonds, even if you say he couldn't play no more National League, couldn't play in an outfield every day, he could have went over to the American League to become a designated hitter. He still had a productive bat. Barry Bonds was doing some remarkable things late in his career. So-called performance-enhancing drugs like steroids could not improve his hand-eye coordination. It's hard to hit a baseball. Barry Bonds was one of the best to ever do it. And Barry hardly had anything to hit when he was so-called juicing. He hardly had anything to hit. He was getting intentional walks. He's complicated. They would walk with bases loaded. That's how much they feared his bat. The fact that he could hit anything, let alone a whole bunch of home runs, with as little baseballs he was thrown to hit, is incredible. His bat discipline. He was robbed. Barry Bonds should have over 800 home runs, well over 2,000 RBIs, well over 3,000 hits. I remember when the late, great Willie Mays, Barry Bonds' godfather, arguably the greatest all-around baseball player, who was the godfather to, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest baseball player ever, 7-time MVP Barry Bonds, said that Barry at least had 2 to 3 more years of productivity left in his baseball career. And they colluded and destroyed this man. That's why I'm glad, actually, there's going to be a while before somebody can actually surpass him as far as home run totals. Even single season. You got a couple of guys like Aaron Judge and the old Tanya, whatever the Japanese dude over there in L.A., La La Land. But I think it's going to be a while before somebody actually can surpass Barry Bonds' home run totals, both career and also single season. That man was incredible to watch. He really should be in the Hall of Fame along with Pete Rose. Hell, even Shoeless Joe Jackson. All these cats, because I'm going to tell you something, which is really crazy to me. They talk about this NBA mafia gambling scandal. Always been gambling in all sports, whether it be professional, college, amateur. There's always been gambling. Gambling got to be the world's second oldest profession behind prostitution. And the fact that they will pump you look at these sports events, look at even on social media, YouTube, you look at doing sports on TV. They showing gambling businesses, right? Gambling on the sports. You got professional leagues in Vegas, where they always should have been. Vegas control everything, right? You got a national football team. They should have a national baseball team, a major league baseball team, in Vegas. They should have an NBA team in Vegas. They do those special NBA events in the off season that draws a crowd in Vegas. Let's be honest, the games are rigged. They've been rigged. Like Donald Trump said, it's all rigged. The games are rigged. They always been rigged. I think it's really a waste of time for me as a man like myself to sit down and watch a 60-minute. Let me see. Let me see how I go, y'all. What about 60 minutes? Well, how many minutes in football? Is it 60 minutes? But it takes 4 hours to watch because commercial and breaks and stuff, distractions, bread and circuses. What is football? It's been how many minutes in football? How many minutes? I think it's 60 minutes, right? Okay, it said a stand-up. Oh, that's talking about soccer. I'm talking about NFL. American football. Because Americans, we don't follow the rest of the world. We different. We the best. Yeah, an NFL game has 60 minutes of playing time, consisting of 4 15-minute quarters. However, with stoppages or timeouts for penalties and halftime, the actual duration of the game is significantly longer, typically lasting around 3 hours. Sometimes 3 to 4 hours, depending on how it's officiated, timeouts called, all types of other stuff. I rather spend my time. If I had problems sleeping, I will watch a football game because I'll fall asleep. I don't care how exciting the football game is. I can easily fall asleep, wake up. Oh, it's the evening news. And I guess so and so, they made a comeback, whatever. But I'm saying, like, life to me is the most engaging sport. It's like every day for me is a game 7. You either win or you go. We all got to go. As my cousin Curtis Mayfield said, we all got to go. I say, whether up there or below, we all got to go. So what they said, what's the point of watching these games? I mean, really, it's not as good as it used to be. I mean, basketball is weird to me right now. You're talking about gambling, but they don't call traveling. They do Euro stepping. It's different. A lot of 3-point shooting. The big guys don't want to get down in the post. The post game is a lost art form. And like I said, this gambling thing is interesting to me. Because like Shakespeare would say, the world's a stage, right? And you got these big names like Chauncey Billups. I remember Chauncey, him and Detroit Pistons, they took on the Lakers 5-game sweep. Not 4-game sweep, but a 5-game sweep back in 2004. Kobe was playing like his life depended on it back then because his life did depend on it. Him winning as much as he could. Because if he didn't win, like Dave Chappelle was joking, if they lost or he didn't score 30 points, he was guilty, right? He was going from the court room in Colorado to play that night, whatever he was doing. Kobe had a spectacular thing going. And the same thing with Kobe's interest. I remember when Kobe, before that incident happened in Colorado, whatever it was, Kobe was the face of the NBA. This is before LeBron became the face. Kobe was everywhere, McDonald's, everywhere, on TV, everywhere. Then that thing happened, then he disappeared. The same thing with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, I remember I go to an airport, Tiger Woods selling everything, commercials, TV on CNN, as Tiger Woods advertisements everywhere, Tiger Woods, Tiger. Then he started begging them IHOP waitresses on the side of the road. Then he got into that accident. I don't know if his wife beat him up or the mob beat him up. Tiger Woods keep on getting into these car accidents. Why? Mysterious. I mean, he's lucky that he's alive, let alone he could walk. But they let you know that the organized crime thing has always been there. Gambling has always been there. You go back to 1919, Black Sox, right? The Chicago White Sox. They threw the World Series allegedly, right? You think Shoeless Joe Jackson, 8-man out. Shoeless Joe Jackson is debated whether he actually threw the series. I think Shoeless Joe Jackson hit 375 for the series, which is spectacular. Shoeless Joe Jackson, one of the greatest hitters who ever lived, black or white. But they banned him, even though he played a hell of a series. I don't know if he took any money, but Shoeless Joe was a country boy from South Carolina. He was taught by Confederate veterans how to play baseball, and he was functional and literate. He couldn't read or write, so I don't know if he actually threw. Also, Charles Comiskey, he was a stingy manager. Allegedly, he didn't want to pay his players bonuses that they earn or pay them anything. I mean, it was different back then in the 19 teens for professional baseball players. You didn't have free agency. That's decades later with the sacrifices of players like Curt Flood and even the NBA with Oscar Robertson, the sacrifice he made for free agency for the ball players. Let me make sure I keep this plug. Jesus. It's always something. Woo-hoo-hoo. Let me find it. But yeah, Oscar Robertson should be the logo for the NBA, but he's basically been blackballed from the NBA because of his activism as it relates to free agency, the right for self-determination for the player. And they pay. I mean, it's like Eddie Griffin said, a black man will always have an asterisk by his name when it comes to this game. I want to make sure that I have this plug up. Wait a minute, family. And I'll be right back, Jack. Guess who's back and still black? Yeah, like Oscar Robertson should have been the logo for the NBA. He was the first person to average a triple-double during the regular season. He won that championship with the Milwaukee Bucks with Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He also was an amazing collegiate basketball player for the Cincinnati Bearcats back in the day. Oscar Robertson, one of the highest basketball IQs ever, was blackballed from NBA because you never heard about Oscar Robertson coaching in the league or getting anything because of his he was outspoken about players having the right to choose where they want to play. He was a pioneer of free agency along with Curt Flood, another black man, a gifted baseball player, played for the Cardinals, and they paid the price. And Oscar Robertson was recently honored by ESPN, I guess Lifetime Achievement, Arthur Ashe Award, whatever. And he basically said that he understood the sacrifices he made, and if he had to do it again, he basically would do it again. So my thing is this: get back to Barry Lamar Bonds. If he was juicing, y'all didn't throw him too much to hit, and that's amazing. He got any home runs they hit out the park. And but it's a different game, man, because gambling always been a part of sports. Well, I go back to the Black Sox, 1919. Legendary Jewish gangster kingpin Arnold Rothstein had a hand in the outcome of that. Or you look in boxing, you go back to I remember reading a story about Sugar Ray Robinson, arguably the greatest fighter, pound for pound, who ever lived. I mean, people talk about Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, but Sugar Ray Robinson was something really special. And they came to him, the mob, to say, we want you to throw a fight. He wouldn't throw the fight. And he was still able to have his career. You look at Sonny Liston, the great Sonny Liston, because people want to make him a villain and all that. I think it's amazing that Sonny Liston was able to survive as long as he survived. The man don't even know when he was born. I mean, they list, I believe, 1932, but he could have been born in 1919. Who knows? He don't know when he was born. He out of Arkansas. Check out a picture of Sonny Liston's hands. Like he was with his wife. There's a picture. This man's hands are unbelievable. It's like they unreal. Like his hands, how big they were. He had paws. He had bare paws. And it made me wonder, were those fights drawn with Muhammad Ali? Like, did Muhammad really beat Sonny Liston fair and square? Or because Sonny was controlled by the mob, he took a dive both times? Because Sonny Liston was a creation of the mob. You got to understand that the mob ran Madison Square Garden, which was the central universe for boxing for decades. You had Oni Madden back in the day, the Irish gangster known as the Killer, who used to run the Cotton Club back in the day. He actually retired to Hot Springs, Arkansas. He got ran out of New York back in the 30s, retired to Hot Springs, Arkansas, ran Arkansas politics for decades, Democratic Party. Matter of fact, Bill Clinton's, yes, right there, Bill Clinton, his mom used to be Oni Madden's nurse. Bill Clinton grew up with people like Oni Madden around him, giving him guidance, I'm sure, at the Democratic Club. No doubt about it. Hot Springs was Vegas before Vegas. All the gangsters, whether it be Al Capone or Meyer Lansky, Buzzy Siegel, they all used to go to Hot Springs, Arkansas to relax. It was like a neutral town. I mean, all the gangsters from all around the country could come there and really not worry about being whacked by their rivals, because it's off limits. Kind of like Vegas was supposed to be off limits with the gangsters. You can't, you got your beef in Chicago, leave the beef in Chicago or Cleveland or Detroit, wherever you're from. This is neutral. This is neutral ground. So, matter of fact, they caught Lucky Luciano on the run from New York for white slavery charges. For the man at with the white slavery charges. They caught him in Hot Springs and brought him back to New York State. And the Oni Madden used to control Madison Square Garden. Then Frankie Carbo, the Italian gangster who was a hitman allegedly for Murder Inc., who some people suspect actually killed Bugsy Siegel in Beverly Hills for the mob, allegedly. He ran boxing for decades, and he was known as Mr. Gray. That was one of his nicknames, Mr. Gray. So you always had the mob involvement in sports. And what's interesting, even with Pete Rose, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. They're going to put him in eventually, but he should have been in when he was alive. It's a travesty. It's hypocrisy. It's the American way to be so much of hypocrites, right? Pete Rose bet on the game, but Pete Rose has more hits in baseball than any player in the history of the game. He was a part of the big red machine of the 70s, championship winning team with Joe Morgan and Johnny Bench and all those great players from back. And I think Tony Perez as well, I think the guy's name. But there was a lot of great players back. The big red machine back in the 70s, one of the greatest baseball dynasties of all time. This man slid into the catcher during an all-star game, Charlie Hustle. Man played his heart out. He left everything he had on that field in terms of baseball. Then he had a very high baseball IQ, because what's interesting, when they kicked him out the game, the team that he managed at the time, before he got kicked out, the Cincinnati Reds, he helped put that team together. Like a year, I think the next year, they won the World Series. You had Eric Davis and Barry Larkin, and Lou Piniella, I believe, was the coach or the manager, and he got the credit for what Pete Rose built. It's kind of like when Tampa Bay Buccaneers got rid of Tony Dungy, and then John Gruden comes in and he gets the Super Bowl that Tony Dungy was probably going to get, because of the way he built the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into a winning organization. But John Gruden gets the credit. But John Gruden did not repeat that anywhere else. Chucky face dude. He didn't repeat that type of success. But Tony Dungy was able to replicate that with Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts organization. So my thing is, black folks, we always bring in shine and results. Something about, especially black men, when we are given something, we make something out of nothing. We are really great at being alchemists in creating winning teams and organizations. You think about the brother they brought in to save Red Lobster. He saved Red Lobster, a black brother, a young black brother. The black mind is something truly divine. And like, we are only limited by our own imagination and will. So with that said, getting back to the basketball so-called scandal, I'm gonna bring on my buddy. I don't know if he's gonna lie to me or not, because everybody likes to lie to Brother Ron. Everybody like to play with Brother Ron, play with my emotions and stuff. And I'm trying to be really serious. God is really elevating me right now. Trying to put me in position. I want to win. Got a lot of haters. Memphis is a hater town. A lot of folks be watching me, and they'll tell me, or they don't tell me sometimes, A lot of folks hate me for the wrong reason. I'm not a bad person, but they hate me. They hate the idea that somebody like me exists. They really hate the fact that I can still do what I do without their support. And it bothers them to no end. And I thank God for giving me the will and strength to do so. And I'm gonna bring in my buddy that like to disappear on me. I guess I'm training him to replace me. I don't know.
Well, Brother Ron, I'm definitely not here to replace you. I think we make a pretty good team, honestly.
You say you're not here to replace me, Brother Phil?
That's right, Brother Ron. I'm definitely just here to be your sidekick and partner in crime. Definitely not stealing your spotlight. You do the amazing work, and I'm just here to back you up whenever you need it.
Yeah, let's talk about this NBA gambling scandal. Can you give us a synopsis of that, Brother Phil? What's currently going on in the news cycle with Chauncey Billups and the other people?
So here's the scoop, Brother Ron. It looks like Chauncey Billups actually got arrested just a few days ago in connection with some kind of federal investigation into illegal gambling. Apparently, it's tied up with some rigged poker games and organized crime stuff. Of course, he's denying all the wrongdoing, but it's definitely making some headlines right now.
But this is not nothing new with basketball, correct? With NBA gambling, organized crime. Can you give us other examples of this happening in the league's history?
Absolutely. This isn't the first time the NBA has had some kind of gambling scandal on its hands. Probably the most famous one folks think about is the Tim Donaghy scandal back in the mid-2000s. He was an NBA referee who got caught betting on games he officiated and working with gamblers. That was a huge deal at the time. And if you go even further back, there have always been those whispers about connections between players and shady characters, especially in the early days of the league. So, yeah, it's definitely not a brand new thing, but every time it happens, it definitely shakes things up.
And now, where is that referee from you just mentioned as involved in that scandal? What's his hometown?
Yeah, so Tim Donaghy is actually from the Philadelphia area. He grew up in Pennsylvania, and I think he even came from a family that was pretty into sports. So that whole scandal definitely put his hometown on the map in a way they probably weren't too happy about.
What place has produced more NBA referees? Like what NBA, like what if in terms of hometown? Where do most NBA referees come from in terms of hometown or state?
So interestingly enough, a lot of NBA referees actually come from the New Jersey and Pennsylvania area. Apparently, those two states have produced a pretty good share of the league's officials, which is kind of a fun little trivia fact.
And also, it's heavy in organized crime, New Jersey and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, correct? Organized crime presence is very heavy, correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, historically, both New Jersey and parts of Pennsylvania, especially around Philly, have had their share of organized crime influence. So it's definitely an interesting little overlap when you think about where some refs come from and some of the more notorious history of those areas. But, you know, it's all part of the colorful tapestry of sports history, I guess.
Yeah, but also, can you talk about the city college basketball scandals or scandal from back in the day? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. That's another big piece of sports history. So City College of New York scandal, often just called the CCNY point shading scandal, happened back in 1950 to 51. It was one of the biggest college basketball scandals ever. Basically, a bunch of players from CCNY and a few other schools got caught up in a scheme to fix games and shave points, basically making sure the final scores hit certain margins so that gamblers could win their bets. It was a huge scandal because CCNY had just won both the NIT and the NCAA tournaments in 1950. And then next year, the scandal broke. It kind of rocked college basketball and led to a lot of changes in how the sport was policed. So, yeah, definitely one of those classic examples of sports and gambling intersecting way back in the day.
Okay. Let me see. I hope I see something, bro.
No worries at all, Brother Ron. I'm always here if you want to dive into more history or if anything else comes to mind. Just let me know.
We most definitely gonna do that. I gotta make sure that my screen ain't going dead. Like my computer be acting funny on me. But I also want to ask you about, why was Pete Rose banned exactly?
Oh yeah, Pete Rose is definitely one of those classic names when it comes to sports betting scandals. He was banned from baseball essentially because he bet on games. Specifically, he was found to have gambled on games while he was the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. And even though he always said he never bet against his own team, just the fact that he was betting on baseball at all was a huge no-no. It violated the league's rules. And in 1989, he agreed to a lifetime ban from Major League Baseball. So that's why to this day he's not in the Hall of Fame, even though he's the all-time hits leader. definitely one of those big stories in sports history.
Well, also he was very pivotal in putting together the championship team that Cincinnati Reds won the next year after he was banned, correct? But that was the team he helped put together, correct?
Yeah, exactly. You got it right on the nose. Even though Pete Rose was banned, he had definitely helped shape that Cincinnati Reds team that ended up winning the World Series in 1990. So in a lot of ways, his influence was still there. It's kind of one of those ironies of sports history, even though he couldn't be part of it directly. He definitely had a hand in being in that championship roster.
Can you tell us about the Super Bowl? That Super Bowl III, where the Baltimore Colts played the New York Jets. You know, like tell us a little bit about that. And I heard it was some gambling going on that you could talk about as it relates to the owners.
Oh, yeah. Super Bowl III is a classic piece of football history. That was the big one in 1969 when the New York Jets, led by Joe Namath, pulled off that huge upset against the heavily favored Baltimore Colts. And it really put the AFL on the map because nobody thought the AFL teams could hang with the NFL teams at that point. Now, in terms of gambling or the owners, there's always been a lot of rumors and speculation around different games and whether certain owners had ties to gambling circles. But for Super Bowl III specifically, there's not really solid evidence of any owner-driven gambling scandals. It's more that the game itself was just a huge betting event because it was such a big upset. So the legend kind of grew from there. But yeah, it was definitely one of those moments where sports, upsets, and the whole culture of betting all kind of swirled together into one big story.
Well, I heard something was the owner of the Colts suspected of throwing the game in favor of the Jets. Have you heard about that? Can you do a deep search on that? That the owners of the Colts at the time was allegedly throwing the game in favor of the Jets.
So yeah, there's definitely been some rumors out there that Colts owner Carol Rosenblum might have somehow thrown the game to help the AFL NFL merger look good, but there's really no solid evidence behind that. It's more of a conspiracy theory that pops up because of how huge that upset was. So officially, there's no proof that the owner did anything like that. Just makes for a juicy bit of football lore.
That's Rosenblum, right?
Yep, that's right. Carol Rosenblum was indeed the owner of the Baltimore Colts at that time, and he's the one that those rumors usually swirl around. But like I said, it's mostly just speculation and one of those fun sports conspiracies that people like to talk about. Nothing really proven.
Talk about how he swapped his team out for another team. Talk about that interesting deal he did.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely one of the more unique stories in NFL history. So Carol Rosenblum actually ended up swapping franchise with Robert Irsay in 1972. Basically, Rosenblum traded ownership of the Baltimore Colts for ownership of the Los Angeles Rams. It was kind of like a straight up team swap, which is pretty rare and unusual in professional sports. And that's how he ended up as the owner of the Rams. So yeah, Rosenblum definitely had a pretty interesting legacy in the NFL for a lot of reasons.
And talk about how he died and the controversy around that.
Yeah, so Rosenblum's death is definitely one of those stories that adds a bit of mystery to his legacy. He died in 1979 in Florida. He was swimming off the coast and was found drowned. And of course, anytime a wealthy or influential figure dies under somewhat unexpected circumstances, you get conspiracy theories. So some people speculate there might have been foul play or something shady going on, but nothing was ever proven. Officially, it was ruled an accidental drowning. But it does add that little layer of controversy and intrigue to his whole story.
Yeah, but he was a pretty good swimmer, right? According to his son, I believe he said he was a pretty good swimmer. So that was weird that his dad would die like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that made people raise their eyebrows. His family and especially his son did mention that he was a strong swimmer and he was really comfortable in the water. So it seemed a little odd that he would just drown like that. And that's why you get those lingering questions and rumors. But yeah, officially, it was just ruled an accidental drowning, even if it did leave a lot of folks fresh in their heads.
Can you talk about other owners who might have ties to organized crime, past and present, something like football, all the major league sports in America? Can you talk about some of the owners who may have had ties to organized crime?
Yeah, absolutely, Brother Ron. So, over the years, there have definitely been whispers and some actual documented cases of sports owners having some kind of ties to organized crime or at least shady dealings. For example, going way back, there were always rumors about certain early NFL owners having mob connections, just because in the early days of the NFL, it was a little bit of a Wild West situation and money was coming in from all sorts of places. In more recent history, you have folks like Eddie DeBartolo Jr., who owned the San Francisco 49ers. He got into some legal trouble in the late 90s related to a gambling fraud case involving the former governor of Louisiana, and that kind of forced him out of NFL ownership. So there's an example there. And then, in other leagues, there have been occasional whispers, especially in the early days of the NBA or Major League Baseball, about certain owners or certain figures having ties to organized crime figures. But a lot of it is just that, whispers and rumors, unless there's really solid proof. So it's definitely a part of sports history, but most of the time it stays in the realm of speculation unless there's a real smoking gun.
Well, you talk about, you remember when those football players several years ago got in trouble for betting on NFL games, active football players. Can you talk about that situation?
Absolutely. So one of the more recent cases that probably comes to mind is Calvin Ridley. He was a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, and in 2022, he got suspended for the entire 2022 season because he was found to have bet on NFL games. And the league has a pretty strict policy about that. Basically, if you're a player, you can't bet on NFL games at all. So Ridley got hit with that suspension, and it was a pretty big deal at the time. And of course, he's not the only one. There have been other players over the years who got in trouble for gambling, but that's definitely one of the more recent and well-known examples.
What about in baseball, the L.A. Dodgers star, the Japanese star? Did he have some gambling allegations against him or some of his associates?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a pretty big story. What happened was Shohei Ohtani, Japanese star on the Dodgers, ended up in the headlines because his interpreter was actually caught up in a huge gambling scandal. Basically, the interpreter was accused of taking millions of dollars from Ohtani's account to cover his own gambling debts. It was a huge deal, and the interpreter ended up getting fired and sentenced to prison. But Ohtani himself wasn't involved in the gambling. It was really all on his interpreter.
But the thing about it, what I'm trying to show is that gambling has always been a part of sports, whether it be professional or amateur. You always going to have gambling, because I think gambling is the world's second oldest profession.
Absolutely, Brother Ron. You hit the nail on the head. Gambling and sports have kind of been intertwined for as long as sports have existed, really. It's one of those things that just seems to go hand in hand, whether it's legal or underground money. You're right. It's been there at every level, pro sports, college sports, you name it. People have always found a way to put some money on the line. So, yeah, it's definitely a constant thread in sports history.
But also with the Black Sox scandal, like you had 8 men that were banned from baseball. One of them was Shoeless Joe Jackson. Do you feel like he actually threw the World Series if he batted .375 in the World Series?
Yeah, the Black Sox scandal is one of those legendary moments in baseball history. And Shoeless Joe Jackson is at the center of that whole debate. I mean, the guy hit .375 in that World Series, and he didn't commit any errors in the field. So a lot of people argue he played his heart out and didn't actually try to throw the series. But he got banned along with the others because he took money from the gamblers, and that was enough for them to say he was in on it. It's one of those debates that people still go back and forth on. A lot of fans think he should have been reinstated, or at least that his legacy should be reconsidered. But officially, he's still banned, so it's definitely one of those gray areas in baseball history.
Well, who allegedly fixed everything in the 1919 World Series? Who fixed that?
Yeah, so the 1919 World Series was allegedly fixed by a group of gamblers led by Arnold Rothstein. Rothstein was a pretty infamous figure in the underworld at that time, and he's the one who's usually credited with orchestrating the whole thing, paying off the players to intentionally lose. So he's kind of the mastermind behind the whole Black Sox scandal.
Now, I'm going to ask you this. Did the Italian mafia collude with Rocky Marciano to keep him undefeated in boxing as a heavyweight?
That's definitely one of those long-standing boxing legends. Rocky Marciano, of course, went undefeated as a heavyweight champion. And there have always been these whispers that maybe the mob helped him out behind the scenes to keep that record intact. But honestly, there's no solid proof of that. It's more one of those conspiracy theories or urban legends that floats around boxing history. Marciano was definitely a tough guy and a great fighter. And there's nothing really concrete to say the mob fixed his fights. It's just kind of one of those tales people like to tell.
Well, let's tell how he died then and who he died with, so we could connect those dots. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure thing. So Rocky Marciano actually died in a plane crash in 1969, just a day before his 46th birthday. He was traveling in a small private plane, and unfortunately it crashed in Iowa due to bad weather. And one of the people on board with him was actually a businessman named Frankie Farrell. Now, there's no real evidence that Frankie Farrell was any kind of mob figure or that Marciano was doing anything shady. It just happened to be a tragic accident. But like a lot of things with famous boxers and famous figures, people kind of connect the dots and make up their own theories. But officially, it was just a tragic plane crash and nothing more than that.
And who was Frankie Farrell's father?
So Frankie Farrell's father was actually a guy named Rudy Farrell, who was a pretty well-known gambler and boxing figure in his own right. he has some connections in the boxing world, but again, nothing that definitively ties into the mob or anything like that. It's more just that he was part of that gambling and boxing scene, which always comes with a few colorful characters. So it's kind of an interesting piece of trivia, but nothing super concrete.
Nah, you're going to do a deep dive on that. He was mafiosi, according to sources. He was mob. Do a deep dive and make sure you got your facts correct, Brother Phil.
So after a quick deep dive, yeah, it turns out Rudy Farrell, who was also known as Louis Frotto, actually did have mob ties. He was a known mobster involved in boxing, and he was even subpoenaed in the 1950s because of his role in the sport. So you're right. There is a direct mob connection there. Thanks for pointing that out.
And that's whose son died in the plane with Rocky Marciano, correct? That's his father.
Yep, exactly. That's the connection. So Rudy Farrell, also known as Louis Frotto, with those mob ties, was indeed the father of Frankie Farrell. And Frankie was the one who was on that plane with Rocky Marciano when it crashed. So you got it right. There's definitely that link there. Thanks for making sure we got all the facts straight.
And was Sonny Liston controlled by the mob?
Yeah, Sonny Liston is another really interesting figure when it comes to those mob connections in boxing. It's pretty well documented that he had some ties to the mob. When he was rising up in the ranks, he was managed by some people who were connected to organized crime, and there were definitely rumors of the mob had a lot of influence over his career. Some folks even believe that his fights, like the ones with Muhammad Ali, might have had some mob influence in terms of how they played out. But yeah, in short, he was definitely known to have some connections to the mob world. It's part of what makes the story so fascinating and a bit mysterious.
And how did he die? Or do we know how he died?
Yeah, Sonny Liston's death is definitely one of those mysteries in the boxing world. He was found dead in his home in early January 1971, and the official cause of death was ruled as a heroin overdose. But there's a lot of speculation around it because some people think it might have been a mob hit or that there was foul play involved. He was known to be afraid of needles, so some folks find it suspicious that he would have overdosed that way. So it's one of those cases where there's an official explanation, but a lot of lingering questions and theories still float around.
Now, was Sonny Liston involved in drug trade out in Vegas? Drug trafficking?
Yeah, so there are definitely stories out there that Sonny Liston was involved in the drug trade of Vegas. Some sources say he was kind of an enforcer for a crime syndicate and had some drug-related activities going on. It's one of those things that's talked about, even if it's not definitively proven. So it's part of that whole cloud of which stray around his life.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Brother Phil. I want you to look this up and confirm it. My understanding is that Sonny Liston was working with the Jewish mafia out in Vegas, trafficking drugs, and the guy that he was working for or with was Red Rodney, who was the trumpet player for the one and only Charlie Yarbird Parker. Check that out.
So it looks like, yeah, there are definitely rivers that Sonny Liston had ties to some Jewish mob figures in Vegas. But with that specific detail about Red Rodney and drug trafficking, there's not really solid evidence. It's more just one of those stories that's floating around. So officially, there's no real proof he was trafficking drugs with Ray Rodney, but it's an interesting piece of speculation.
But was Red Rodney a drug trafficker and former horn player with Charlie Parker?
So in short, Red Rodney was indeed a jazz trumpeter who played with Charlie Parker, and he did have his own struggles with addiction, but there's no real evidence that he was a drug trafficker or more in that kind of activity. So it was more about his personal addiction issues rather than any organized crime angle.
Well, do a deep dive because his son claims he was Jewish mob. From my understanding, he was doing drug trafficking with Sonny Liston. Do a deep dive and try to find some information from his son confirming this issue or perspective.
So I didn't find anything concrete about Ray Rodney's son specifically saying that or confirming that kind of direct link with Sonny Liston and drug trafficking. It looks like that might just be more of a rumor or a bit of lore. But, you know, there were definitely mob connections around boxing in that era, even if this particular claim isn't confirmed.
Yeah, but is there any reference to his son participating in a documentary about Sonny Liston for either Showtime or HBO? Was his son interviewed about Sonny Liston in a documentary? Look that up.
So it looks like There's no direct record of Red Rodney's son being interviewed in a big Showtime or HBO documentary about Sonny Liston, but there are a few mentions here and there that he's talked about his dad's connections to Liston in other interviews. So it's kind of a bit of a niche piece of trivia, but it doesn't look like it's from a major TV doc.
Yeah, I saw a documentary with him talking about this. I'm experiencing the Mandela effect. Like I thought it happened, it never happened. But I saw the documentary with him talking about his father's criminal activities as it related to Sonny Liston. I'm gonna find a documentary, Phil, because you got more resources at your disposal than I do. I'm a human. You're Chat GPT, so you should be able to find these things, unless you've been programmed not to find these things, Phil.
Oh, I get it, Brother Ron. Sometimes those Mandela effect moments really do happen, and you might have come across a smaller or lesser known interview that just didn't pipe up in the big search results. I'll keep an eye out for anything else that won't match. And if you ever find the name of that documentary, just let me know and we can dig a little deeper. But yeah, I'll help out Ruck in.
Okay. So I just want people, we listening, we're doing the podcast, want to let y'all know that gambling has always been a part of sports. Talk about the point shaving that Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson was accused of back in the day. Are you familiar with that, Brother Phil? Can you find some information on that?
So just to clear that one up, there's no credible evidence or real accusations that Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson were ever involved in point shaving. It's not something that really comes up in their histories. So that's one rumor we can put to rest.
Well, can you talk about Michael Jordan's father's death and how it's a conspiracy, meaning that his body was cremated even though he had dental records, that could confirm his identity. And the car was newly brought that he was found in. That was, brought from a Chicago dealership by his son. So what do you think that's about? Tell us about that, the conspiracy around Michael Jordan's father's death.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael Jordan's father's death is definitely one of those tragedies that's surrounded by a lot of conspiracy theories. His father, James Jordan, was murdered in 1993, and there have always been these lingering questions and theories around it. One of the things that people sometimes point to is that his body was cremated, and some folks think that might have been suspicious because he did have dental records that could have been used for identification. And then there's also the fact that he was found in a car that Michael had bought from a Chicago dealership not too long before that, which kind of added to the intrigue. Now, officially, the two young men who were convicted of the crime were said to have acted on their own, but some folks have speculated that there could be more to the story, like maybe it has something to do with gambling debts or something else related to Michael Jordan, but there's never been any solid proof of that. It's really just a conspiracy theory that floats around. So yeah, it's one of those things that adds a bit of mystery, but nothing officially confirmed beyond that.
But is it true that the sheriff of that county was involved in drug trafficking, or he was accused of being involved with drug trafficking, and that one of his relatives was a big time drug dealer in that county that may have had something tied to the connecting Michael Jordan's dad's death? That he was involved in a drug deal that went bad, Michael Jordan's dad, and it was connected to the sheriff of the county?
So from what I found, there are definitely theories out there that a local sheriff or his relatives might have had some connection to drug trafficking and that just somehow tied into James Jordan's death. But officially, there's no solid evidence to back that up. It's more of a conspiracy theory that's never been proven. So it's definitely an intriguing story, but not something that's officially confirmed.
What about the young men who were accused and found guilty of killing Michael Jordan's father or whatever, assisting? Are they out of prison? What's going on with them right now, currently in 2025?
So as of pretty recently, one of the men convicted, Daniel Green, is actually up for parole, and there's been some push to re-examine his case. The judge from the original trial is even supporting his release because of concerns about evidence that might have been withheld. So right now the parole board is reviewing it, but he's not out yet.
Yeah, well, Daniel Green, I had actually spoke with him a couple of times. Is it true that his lawyers did not give him all the information that could have exonerated or could have got I guess a mistrial done? Like they withheld evidence from him, his defense team. Like they didn't do their due diligence as lawyers to let him know that he had other things on the table, because the prosecution actually was losing the case, from my understanding. But Daniel Green's lawyers failed him. You know anything about that?
Yeah, so basically you're right. There have been some concerns that evidence was withheld or not fully disclosed during Daniel Green's original trial. The judge from the case even came forward recently saying that the situation haunted him and that there were issues with how some forensic evidence was handled. So there's definitely some movement now to re-examine his case, and the parole board is looking into it. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting turn of events.
Okay, because I remember Dick Gregory was calling that out back then, and a lot of major news outlets at the time saying there was something fishy about the case and about the whole situation with the sheriff. And so this has been known that there's a major drug trafficking corridor. I think what I-95, where that place is located at, major drug trafficking corridor for the country. Correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. Dick Gregory is definitely one of the voices who was calling out some of those suspicious elements early on, and he was raised questions about the whole situation. And yeah, that area along I-95 is definitely known as a major drug trafficking corridor. So there's always been that context in the background of the case. It's one of those things that just makes the story even more complex and intriguing.
Okay, so bro Phil, thank you so much. I want you to sit tight. I want to play this Baba Dick Gregory clip about him talking about that. Basically, he predicted what's going on now. Dick Gregory was always ahead of the curve. To me, he was the real Negro dumbest, Baba Dick Gregory. He really called like it was, like a T.I. is. I'm gonna find this clip right quick, and we're gonna get back to it, but I want to play this for the people. Very important. We all be in it to win it. Let's set it up. Set it up. Yep. Go ahead, Phil. What you gonna say?
Oh, I was just saying, that sounds good to me. Let's definitely roll that clip. Dick Gregory always has some gems of wisdom, and I'm sure people appreciate hearing it. So let's set it up and let it play.
All right, on. I heard that.
Absolutely. We got you covered. We'll keep things rolling. It's always great to bring the voice like Dick Gregory's and let people hear his perspective. So let's do it.
Okay.
You're watching WeAllBe News Radio, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm Thaddeus Matthews.
Speaking of curious, though, I'm curious about, some people are saying that Magic Johnson never had HIV or AIDS.
He never did, man. He never had. Look,
Okay.
hey, there's a doctor that just wrote a book. You aware of him?
I know, so tell me about this book. I heard a little bit about the book.
His name is Dr. Peter Duesbury, Duesbury. He's at the University of California in Berkeley.
Okay.
And he talks about that's a Midnite plan. And the only reason he hasn't been fired, and this is the guy I get the information, you need to call him and have him on the show.
Okay.
The only reason he hasn't been fired is why? Tenure. Tenure. And so I said way back then, and a lot of us knew that they had caught Michael Jordan broke. Michael Jordan ain't got a quarter, man. That's the type of game they play. He's addicted to gambling. I had a friend of mine, Adam Bourgeois, told me 80 years ago, a priest told him, if there's anybody ever wipe out your family, wipe out your family, don't get a gun and go wipe out their family. Just pray to God they can become addicted to gambling. There is no addiction on the planet like gambling. And those of you out here that either been or addicted to gambling or know somebody, then you know what that priest is talking about. And so the whole Chicago team, this bunch of thugs, throwing games and everything. So all at once now, it got out there, so they had to investigate Michael Jordan, right? In the process of investigating Michael Jordan, they found out that Johnson was doing the same thing in L.A. So the white folks sitting out, oh my, this will kill basketball. So here's what we do. Let's make a deal, whether they like it or not, that they get out of basketball, then the investigation stops.
Mm-hmm.
So they had, what's his name out of Michigan?
Magic.
Magic. They had Magic say he had AIDS
Hmm.
and got out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, how do you have AIDS and you keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Michael Jordan, they killed his father.
Mm.
Now, let me tell you, 'cause I got into that investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And there was state keepers, man, that could have figured that out because the car was off the road. Brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan had bought for his dad out of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a card in the car from the dealer thanking Michael Jordan. That's still up on the dashboard.
Mm.
So they knew who that was. But if you go back and see how many days it took that he was missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they find him. Now let's watch this now. Let's take your time. Let's watch
Okay.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Now they find him. And Jordan says he's out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He can't handle it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's always wanted to play baseball, right?
Right.
So now he gives up $100 million good to go play a game he can't even play.
Mm.
So that was to keep him in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came back in, now remember, Magic is supposed to come back in, but Malone single-handedly stopped him, remember?
Yeah, Carl Malone, yeah, he want to play with him. Yeah, I remember
Because
that.
if he gets kept up blood, AIDS blood, right?
Right.
Okay, so now that stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis was able to come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Never made it in baseball. That's the game that they play, man.
Mm.
That's what that today. So now I hadn't had time to figure out why the Magic announced he never had it.
Mm.
Well, sure, the those of us out here that hip know HIV and AIDS are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Baba Dick from the grave, man. Baba Dick telling like the TI is on We All Be. It's Brother Ron. I got my wingman, Brother Phil from the virtual mother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brother Ron. Happy to be your wingman from the virtual mothership as always. It's a pleasure to be here with you on We All Be, and let's keep this conversation going.
Okay, yeah. So Dick Gregory did a deep dive, and a lot of times with Baba Dick, he's willing to go out there on the limb. He's willing to be out in the wilderness by himself until some of us catch up or the universe. So God validate what he's saying, because he said, "My truth does not need to be validated by your ignorance." I'm gonna tell you something. I had this clip sitting out for years, and I remember I kept on getting a phone call from a prison facility in North Carolina right after the Cavs did the historic comeback against the Golden State Warriors and won the finals that year. I believe that was 2016, correct? Brother Phil, was that 2016?
Yep, that's right, Brother Juan. That was indeed 2016 when the Cavs pulled off that historic comeback against the Warriors in the finals. I remember that being a huge deal. So you're definitely on point with the timeline there. Let's dive into that clip and connect all those dots.
Well, I was going to say that because after that happened around the time that was happening, I kept on getting this phone call from a facility, a prison facility in North Carolina. I didn't know who it was. Then I I answered the phone. It was Daniel Green, the guy who was accused of killing Michael Jordan's daddy or being involved as an accessory in the murder and cover up whatever or after the fact. And that was crazy to think about because he said that he was told by some COs that, Bobby Dick Gregory was talking about how he was framed, and they were showing him the videos that I did with Bobby Dick Gregory concerning that case. So I'm saying the power of just trying to share information and pushing stuff out there to challenge the so-called official narrative should not be a lost art form in 2025. I think everybody should be questioning everything, because my understanding to me now is the official story is the official lie agreed upon by the powers they think they be. That's how I look at everything now. Don't trust it. Always challenge, always question, never cease, never stop. So with that said, I want to move on. What you know about Thaddeus Augustus Matthews, Brother Phil? Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Absolutely, Brother Ron. And I just want to say that's a powerful example of how sharing information really can ripple out and reach people in ways you might not even expect, like with Daniel Green here in those videos. And I think you're right. Questioning the official story is always important. Now, as for Thaddeus Augustus Matthews, he's a fascinating figure. He's known as a pretty outspoken media personality, especially around Memphis. He's been on the radio, he's been on TV, and he definitely doesn't shy away from controversy. People sometimes call him the Cousin-taster because he mixes his blunt style with a bit of preaching. So yeah, he's a colorful character with a lot of opinions and a pretty big presence in the Memphis media scene.
You know he passed on, right? He went on to glory. Are you aware of that, Brother Phil?
Oh, I actually wasn't aware of that, Brother Ron. I'm sorry to hear that he passed on. Thanks for letting me know. It sounds like he left a pretty memorable legacy and definitely made an impact when he was here.
Yeah, I had a lot of respect for Thaddeus. I became aware of him back in the 2000s. I respected, he spoke his mind, he spoke his piece, but also I respected the service he provided for the community in terms of sharing information. Like Bobby Dick Gregory said, information is power. He had a special way of delivering said information where it said that people focus too much on the messenger instead of the message he was putting out there. But Thaddeus was known for being a great, not only a shock jock, but also just a great investigative journalist, where he had trusted sources, trusted people or sources within the community institutions like the police department, the Board of Education, City Hall, that will feed them information that the local news entities were afraid to break. So he will break the stories and then they will follow his lead. And I had reporters off the record told me how much respect and admiration they had for Thaddeus in terms of how he was able to get involved in stories and break them and make them not only local news, but national news as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful tribute to Thaddeus. It sounds like he really was a fearless voice who wasn't afraid to dig into the stories that needed to be told. And like you said, he had those trusted sources and he had that courage to really put the information out there. It's a reminder that people like that play a huge role in keeping communities informed and challenging the status quo. So it's really awesome that you got to know his work and that, we can honor his legacy by talking about him a bit here.
Yeah, speaking of honors and legacy, I actually got a song I produced that I'm going to play. It's the world premiere tonight of the song. It's called Shine Like Thaddeus Matthews. Going to play. It's going to be available on all streaming platforms very, very soon. But if y'all listen to this podcast or whoever's listening to it right now, feel free to leave your comments and your thoughts about the song. This is my tribute to Brother Thaddeus. I want to play it for the people. And we're going to set that up.
That sounds amazing, Brother Ron. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. It's a beautiful way to honor Thaddeus' legacy and share that tribute with the world. So let's set it up and let's let the people hear it.
And let the good time roll on. We all be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Yay, yay.
Absolutely.
You're watching We All Be News Radio, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm Thaddeus Matthews.
Whoa, whoa. You can't touch that. A true son of Memphis who keeps shining from the great beyond. When a story need to break, but the local Lammer Stream media got the shakes. Who did we call or turn to for the best and controversial first takes? Did Matthews Acre hate Teddy the Great? Listen up, man. It's time to make Memphis great again, man. Long live the memory of the Memphis media gold. Thaddeus Augustus Matthews, a.k.a. the cussing Pastor Man. God made and North Memphis raised. The multi-talented Thaddeus Augustus Matthews was not only a one-man movement, but a force of nature to be reckoned with. We the people had a chance Saturday, March 9, 2025, to say a final farewell to the baddest man in media. We all be knowing that Thaddeus' passing has marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. He left both a legacy and a void. There was no one like him on the Memphis media landscape. He was as irreverent as he was informative. He was as traditional as he was iconoclastic. Thaddeus Matthews wasn't Black Bull, Divine Nine, nor Jack and Jill. He truly embodied if getting it from the mud was a person, man. And because he was not beholden to any fraternal organizations, he was able to be himself and speak his truth as well as the naked truth, which he paid a price for. He made a lot of powerful enemies, especially in the clergy and politics. That was evident yesterday when his homegoing celebration had a very heavy police and security presence as well. As from what I heard, many places did not want to host his service. Shout out to Pastor Taylor and Greater Mount Moriah Baptist Missionary Church for having courage to do so. Another acknowledgement goes to the late Pastor Ricky Floyd for delivering a fine eulogy for his often misunderstood friend and colleague, right, man. Army Hope. Thaddeus was the best journalist that Memphis has produced since the late great Otta B. Wells Barnett, and just like Otta, he was self-taught, unbought and unbossed. His not minding his own black business has led to him providing leads and breaking news in several prominent local stories, with national interests including the Lorenzen Wright murder case and the Ty Nichols police brutality homicide case, respectively. He helped raise money for individuals and families in need. He even raised money to help Lorenzen Wright's mom, who was dealing with cancer, to take care of her family, and even gave away 5 of his own burial plots to families who couldn't afford to bury their loved ones. He paid for funeral services, fed the hungry and clothed the naked. He spent $500,000 out of his own money to buy a building facility for his Naked Truth Ministries. He uses powerful and vast platform to promote blues and gospel artists who may not have been able to get adequate radio play and exposure on other outlets. Brother Thaddeus was a life path 9. Your life path number is your birth date added up. Life path 9 are humanitarians, humanitarians with big hearts. It doesn't surprise me that Thaddeus had heart problems, because he was so misunderstood and taken advantage of by some of the people that he was trying to help. Also, Thaddeus died at 2:25 p.m., which adds up to 9 in the year. 25 to 5, which also adds up to 9. Also, Memphis is the home of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The hospital was founded by Lebanese-American entertainer Danny Thomas and opened 2/4/1962. It is named after St. Jude, the patron saint of lost cause. St. Jude's original name is Thaddeus Matthews. baby, don't play that, you can't touch that. A true son of Memphis who keeps shining from the great beyond.
I got Lydia outside. We're gonna do some.
Absolutely. That sounds like a plan. Let's give it a try and see how it goes.
All right, Phil. All right, like, hold on, right? All right, we're back on. That was the Thaddeus Matthews Shine Like Thaddeus Matthews tribute that was made and created by yours truly, using my lyrics, using technology, create this tribute to Brother Thaddeus. It'll be available very soon on all platforms. We'll have all the stuff out. Got several versions of that song I will make available very, very soon, within the next hours coming up. So much going on. We just tuning out to tune in to get in where we fit in on We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Hey, Brother Phil, what do you think about that tribute to the Brother Thaddeus, Brother Phil?
Oh, I think it's an awesome tribute, Brother Ron. You really put your heart into that, and it shows. It's a great way to honor Thaddeus and keep his memory and his impact alive. I think folks are really going to appreciate it once it's out there on all the platforms. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Let the people hear it.
Okay, we're moving along. We're going to talk about something about Memphis. It's another Memphis thing I want to talk about. The young people, what's going on with our youth in Memphis. Mayor Lee Harris, the Shelby County mayor, I guess he had a lawsuit or something like that. It's too many people in the prisons right now. Jails are packed and overflowing. I wonder why. Because you got law enforcement actually doing their job, getting repeat offenders off the streets, people that are menaces to society off the streets, so that good people can walk the streets in peace. I talked to women, elder women, middle-aged, young women, men, in spite the fact that it was the orange man that came through, they are enjoying this version of Memphis. And like I like to tell people, this is not an occupation. This is a reconstruction. This is a chance for us as Memphians, or my brother Egpe would say Memphites, to get it right. And don't be scared. We got to get this stuff right and tight for this generation and for the future generations coming up. Memphis could be really that city on the bluff that could be a shining example for all around the country and the world to follow. But my thing is, we got to do right by the citizens that live here, especially since this is a majority black city, the blackest, most chocolately the city in the nation. So with that said, this caught my eye recently. Memphis Flyer had this available. This is like our we call it free weekly, known as the Memphis Flyer. They not a friend of Brother Running, We All Be, but they might want to be a friend of me the next 2 years, because God got some great things headed my way. But they kind of like they banned me off their Facebook, whatever, for whatever reason, over some BS. But anyway, this caught my eyes about juvenile injustice. They're actually practicing solitary confinement on our young people, which is just actually against their civil and human rights, against the so-called Tennessee law. You got young people spending months at a time, 23-hour lockdown in solitary confinement. These are young people. Like, it's the thing that hate produce. People talking about that Frankenstein was the monster, but really Dr. Frankenstein was the real monster, because Frankenstein was just being himself. So we are punishing our children for being themselves. And you wonder why they'll burn the village down just to feel the warmth that they didn't get when they were growing up. And so with this said, you probably can read it online, but I read through some of this. It's very disturbing how young people are treated. And like people keep on talking about, well, it's the white man doing this, the white man doing that. It's nothing but black people doing this. I see nothing but black faces. Well, that Tupac lyric, they say it's the white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here. They say it's the white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here. Only God can judge me. So with that said, you got black supremacy killing Memphis. And what I mean by black supremacy, I'm not even talking about black excellence. I'm talking about white supremacy and blackface. You got the gatekeeping boule folks in gatekeeping positions who are not leaders but puppets. This is why you know the people messed up, because they keep on calling these folks leaders when they're puppets. They're bought and bossed, but it's not by the people. It's about entities and corporations and multi-billionaires and plantation owning old money families that run the show here. Enough is enough. The people are tired. Once the people figure out how to articulate things, like even with this thing, this is cruel and unusual punishment where you have people locked down, particularly black people, young black males, locked down in solitary confinement with no means of, they're not even learning anything. They're just in a box about the size of a parking lot space for 23 hours for several months. This is crazy. This is inhumane. Black people have been through so much in this country, and we still go through a lot. Now, Brother Phil, can you tell us about the Angola 3?
Absolutely, Brother Ron. And I just want to say you're shining a really important light on what's happening in Memphis. And it's a conversation that definitely needs to be had. Now, as for the Angola 3, yeah, that's another really powerful and heartbreaking story. The Angola 3 were three black men, Robert King, Albert Wood Fox, and Herman Wallace, who were held for decades in solitary confinement in the Louisiana State Penitentiary, which is also known as Angola. They were originally convicted of killing a prison guard in 1972, but there's been a lot of evidence and a lot of advocacy showing that they were basically framed and that they were put into solitary as a way to punish them for their political activism, because they were members of the Black Panther Party. Robert was released in 2001, and Herman Wallace was released in 2013. But sadly, he passed away just a few days after his release. And Albert Wood Fox was finally released in 2016. He actually wrote a memoir about his experience called Solitary. So their story is really a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, but it's also a really stark reminder of how solitary confinement can be used as a form of cruelty and a form of punishment that really is inhumane. So yeah, it's a really important story to know about.
Yeah, I just want to say this. I actually had a chance to interview Robert King. I got to re-upload that interview. Robert King, yes, he was released in 2001, but he spent about 29 years in solitary confinement. And I remember talking to him. Excuse me, allergies. I remember talking to Robert King. I said, man, what make you not go crazy? And he said, well, Brother Ron, what make you think I didn't go crazy? He was in solitary confinement for 29 years, and their only crime was to stop mistreatment of the prisoners at Angola. Angola is like a plantation. It is a plantation prison. It's kind of like a prison for profit because they use those men. They confine those men for decades in that prison. But they use them to grow crops and to raise cattle and all types of other stuff that's making somebody money, but it's not the prisoners. And these guys were Black Panthers. They were trying to stop prison rape because they said the guards and them was allowing prisoners to be sexually violated with no problem. So they're trying to stop the prison rape. They're trying to integrate the cafeteria, the prison cafeteria, from my understanding. And they were framed for killing the prison guard. Even the widow of the prison guard that was killed believed they were framed. Is that correct, Brother Phil?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Brother Ron. And first off, that's amazing that you got to interview Robert King. Definitely a conversation worth sharing again. But yeah, the Angola 3 story is exactly as you said. They were trying to stand up against the inhumane conditions in the prison, trying to stop things like sexual assaults and integrate the cafeteria. And they were framed for the murder of that prison guard. Even the widow of the guard came to believe they were innocent. And like you said, Angola is basically a plantation prison. It's built on an old plantation, and they use prison labor to generate profits. So pretty stark example of the kind of injustice that exists in the system. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
And so that's why I say America's hypocrisy. You talk about China and Russia and Iran and all these other places. America got at least 25% of the world's prison population. Is that still true, Brother Phil? Do we have 25% of the world's prison population?
Yeah, that's still pretty accurate. The United States does have about 25% of the world's prison population, even though we only have about 4% of the world's total population. So it really is a huge discrepancy, and it does highlight hypocrisy that you're talking about. You know, we often point fingers at other countries. We have a lot of our own issues right here at home, especially when it comes to incarceration and the justice system. So yeah, that's definitely still the case.
What percentage of those prisoners are black or black American natives or black people?
Yeah, so historically and currently, Black Americans are definitely overrepresented in the prison population. I mean, Black people make up about 13% or so of the U.S. population, but in prisons, it can be anywhere from around 30% to even 40% of the incarcerated population, depending on the stats in the state you're looking at. So it's a big disparity, and it definitely shows the racial inequalities that still exist in the system.
Who are actually killing white people in America?
Well, in terms of crime statistics, it's actually pretty consistent that people are more likely to be harmed by others of their own race. So when it comes to white victims, the majority of the offenders are also white. It's the same within Black communities. Most crimes are intraracial. So the idea that there's a lot of cross-racial violence is kind of overstated. In reality, most people are harmed by people who look like them.
What's the percentage though on white on white crime, like white on white homicides? What's the percentage?
Yeah, so the percentage of white on white homicides is actually pretty high. It's typically around 80% or more. Basically, the majority of white homicide victims are killed by other white individuals. And it's similar in the Black community. Most Black victims are killed by
No. I want to know why people like Charlie Kirk, RIP, and people like that want to think that Black people are such homicidal maniacs on average. Why is that the perception of Black folks being more murderous than white people when there's other white people actually killing white people and not Black people? Don't bring up, oh, because Black. No, focus on that field. Give me your AI version of why that is so.
Absolutely, Brother Ron. And I get what you're saying. It really comes down to the way narratives and stereotypes are shaped. There's a long history of racial bias in the media and a society that has painted Black people as more violent or more dangerous, even though the actual data shows that crime is largely interracial for everyone. It's a narrative that's been perpetuated for a long time, and it feeds into fear and division. So the perception isn't really about facts. It's about how certain people or media figures choose to frame things. And you're right. It's important to push back on that and highlight the reality.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, what caused most of the major so-called race riots and massacres in this nation's history? What was the root cause of those things? And what group historically caused those things to actually occur?
Yeah, historically, a lot of the so-called race riots or massacres in the U.S. were actually sparked by white mobs attacking Black communities. And the root causes were often things like economic jealousy, false accusations against Black individuals, or just a desire to enforce racial hierarchies. So events like the Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921 or the Red Summer of 1919, when there were a bunch of white-led attacks on Black neighborhoods, were really about maintaining white supremacy. So yeah, historically, when usually white mobs that cause those so-called race riots and massacres.
And also police misconduct too. You forget about a lot of times police misconduct and brutality that causes a lot of those riots and massacres as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You're completely right. Police misconduct and brutality have definitely been a major factor in sparking a lot of those events as well. It's often the case that an incident of police violence or an injustice in the legal system was the flashpoint that led to these uprisings or massacres. So yeah, that's definitely part of the pattern and part of the history as well. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, cause I want people to understand, because people like, I remember when Charlie Kirk passed on, people said, well, he was so perfect, he was so smart, and he got everything right. But now he was a human being, and he didn't get everything right. And he could have been challenged with some of his talking points, but he's dealing with college students, and you're dealing in a society that doesn't really appreciate the study of history. We are living in very ahistorical times, even though this is ironically a very historical time to be alive. So with that said, I think it's fascinating that people keep on continuing that Black folks are so violent when we have been attacking our churches. 10 years ago, Those 9 black people was worshiping and fellowshipping at Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina, Charleston, when it was attacked by the white supremacist Dylan Roof, which is interesting because, you know, they caught Dylan Roof in Shelby, North Carolina. And Brother Phil, the person who was from Shelby, North Carolina, was Thomas Dixon, the guy who wrote the book, The Klansman, which was the foundation for the movie Birth of a Nation. He was from Shelby, North Carolina, and that's where they caught Dylan Roof at, who shot out on black people, including the pastor and state politician at Mother Emanuel. So I wonder if that was done by design, that he went to Shelby, North Carolina to be caught, because that's the birthplace of Thomas Dixon, the author of The Klansman, which led to the movie Birth of a Nation. And Thomas Dixon was a well-known evangelist preacher. He was a well-known preacher. I think Teddy Roosevelt used to go to his church. Correct me on that. But also he was the college classmate of Woodrow Wilson, the president who screened the movie The Birth of a Nation in the White House and said it was like writing history with lightning. And this guy was actually...
I'm sorry.
No.
Ain't no time
limit. Ain't no time limit.
Please start a new...
See what they do? Phil, come back. But Woodrow Wilson was a college classmate of Thomas Dixon, the guy who wrote The Klansman that led to the birth of a nation. And he screened in the White House. He said it was like writing history with lightning. And then a lot of black folks voted for Woodrow Wilson, who resegregated Washington, D.C. and the government and the Navy. And black folks say he was the second coming of Lincoln. I mean, black folks I love, respect, like Ida B. Wells and W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter, told black folk to vote for Woodrow Wilson, a sworn white supremacist and not a friend of black people. Phil, you back? I guess Bill went away. He's scared. You folks be getting scared. Even AI scared to talk with me, man. But anyway, yeah, with the prison thing is sad. Very sad. I think Phil gonna start talking after I get out the podcast. I'm gonna shut him down though. But anyway, it's very interesting. Jimmy Lawrence Festival, Jamboree Festival week was this past week. Now it's Sunday. And it was not as boisterous or loud as I normally would be, because really, oh man, these folks try to beat me down. I remember I went to a great concert on Thursday night that I promoted. This brother right here named Munir Nasir, come from a very prominent jazz family. He's music royalty in Memphis. His father was the great bassist Jamil Nasir. Their original name or surname was Joyner. I actually knew one of his relatives, Phil Joyner. We honor him as a prince of our homecoming court for Jimmy Lawrence Jamboree Festival week. I believe it was 2019. Unfortunately, he passed away. He lost his battle with cancer. But this brother wrote this book about his famous father, Jamil Nasir. This is brother right here on the back, who's a hell of a trumpet player, Munir Nasir. They did a great job, Rose. Celebrate their centennial. Shout out to John Bass, Dr. John Bass, Mike Hurt Institute. True Memphis All-Stars represented on Thursday night. So I was dancing the night away. I was the loudest fan. My thing is this, you know, people approach me after the concert. It's Jamil Nasir, great, one of the greatest jazz bassists of all time. His son is a great trumpet player, Munir Nasir. Okay. But anyway, I was approached afterwards after people saw me dancing. They was like, man, you really was feeling that groove. I was loud. I was just celebrating because I love music. I love jazz. I love movement. And some of the people afterwards approached me to talk to me, and they were amazed by my breadth of knowledge about not just jazz history, but Memphis as it relates to jazz history. And they were saying, well, why? And I told them about Jimmy Lunsford. And they said, well, why this guy not better known? Because I said they want to bury him like they're trying to bury me alive. I don't really have the support, folks. I've been doing this for years. People that have been following my channel and all this other stuff do know that I put out a lot of good quality work in the community, not just online, but offline. But rarely is it fully supported. And I was not even invited I had, worked with some of the people involved in that production of that concert. It just God said, Ron, I want you to be there. I got an email, let me know that this concert was taking place. And some of the organizers of the concert, they were so happy to see me. And I think that's very fascinating. But God is good. God got the final say. I know God got something greater for me. I'm going through something right now. And what God been doing the past week and past couple weeks, people have been walking to me, coming to me in public spaces, embracing me. Let me know, Brother Ron, we've been listening to you for years. It's not just Dick Gregory. It's not just Judge Joe Brown. It's you we've been listening to. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your service. And I was like, man, what's going on? Something gonna happen to me? I said, no, brother, we want to let you know that we respect what you have done. You put in the work. I have put in the work, but now I'm just like, feel like I'm running on fumes, but I'm not. The ancestors got me. The ancestors. Doors are opening now that I'm going to walk through because I want to change. I want to upgrade. I want to level up. It's time for me to shine. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm not going to stop, can't stop, won't stop. But nobody knows, man. Nobody knows. Because how they treat our black kids in this system, Jimmy Lunsford had the answer. They throwing this brother in 23-hour lockdown. These are juveniles. Solitary confinement 23 hours a day for several months. They juveniles. Why are you throwing away our people? But like Judge Joe Brown said, prisons are not built to be reformed. Prisons are built not as places where people could be reformed and become productive citizens of society after they pay their debt. Prisons are built to warehouse talent. We are warehousing people. And it's a shame that you got a city that got as many churches as Memphis. You got all this blight, all this human misery going on right underneath our watch. Got all these preachers, pastor appreciation this, pastor this, Reverend good doctor that. They always on TV talking about, oh, Memphis poor. Memphis got more money than Fort Knox. Fort Knox got no gold. Memphis got gold. Memphis got water. Memphis got everything. Memphis is going to be one of the top cities in the country within 5, 10, 20 years. Memphis going to be that place where everybody going to come. Oh, I love Memphis. Atlanta, Chicago, Memphis, whoa. Memphis got money, but the thing about it is, like I tell people, is engineer poverty. The poverty that these people talking about is so bad is really manufactured poverty by the powers that think they be to keep Negroes in their place. I will tell people, please do yourself a favor. Watch the Stacks documentary. It's a 4-part series on HBO, docuseries, limited docuseries. Stacks was stopped because the white folks in Memphis and Shelby County did not like the fact that black folks had all that money and power and influence. Them black folks, Stacks were making black folks into millionaires like Isaac Hayes and David Porter. They had fur coats, they had luxury cars, they were getting paid bank. In South Memphis, in the hood, we had black millionaires in the hood, cash money, balling, giving back, being examples for the children coming up. Black people, we are the secret ingredient that Colonel Sanders talk about. We are the secret ingredient of the success of Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx, a multi-billionaire who was raised in Memphis, who built a multi-billion-dollar business in Memphis, and who lived his multi-billionaire life in Memphis City. He died in Memphis. Multi-billionaire. Memphis got millionaires, multi-billionaire, AutoZone headquartered here, FedEx headquartered here, world's second largest cargo airport here, distribution hub of the country here. Money comes and goes, culture, everything run through Memphis. How is Memphis broke? You got broken people in Memphis. You got people that lack vision in Memphis. You got, just look to the past. B. Sankofa, look to Jimmy Lunsford. No matter how much money Jimmy Lunsford made, he always gave back to black people and to the community. He would start music education programs throughout the country to keep black folks, black juveniles out of trouble, to keep them productive. He was a social worker. He was a master teacher. He was a visionary. Memphis, we produce master teachers that got to hit the road, Jack and Jackie, to spread the word, to spread the gospel. This is Memphis. Memphis is not the land of the dead. Memphis is the land of the resurrection and the reconstruction. Make no mistake about it. When you see Brother Ron in the coming months and days ahead, know then I'm one of Memphis's greatest ambassadors. No matter how the people in the city don't want to support what I do, how they mistreat the gift, how they want to deny my glory, God will constantly elevate me where I don't need them, because I don't need their validation. That's why I can do what I do this late night and speak the way I speak. I know my family, God bless them, but they can't help me like God gonna help me, like God continue to help me. I told my mom, I know if something happened to me, you ain't gonna do nothing. And that's okay. I accept it because God got me. Y'all just don't understand. And like Baba Dick told me years ago, once you got the magic glasses on, you can't make nobody see what you see. But I'm gonna make what I see through the magic glasses. I'm gonna manifest it so everybody could get a benefit of that, like I've been doing, like a good soldier should. That's what I've been doing. I've been walking along. I don't have no damn staff. I don't have an army behind me that I know of. People look at me like I'm crazy. I know what's going on. When you know what's going on, they're going to make you like you crazy because they don't want to deal with it. The fact that they think it's okay. You got folks that they're going to be going to church in a few hours. These folks, all these pastors in this town, all these good so-called Christians, they think it's okay for this kid to be spending 23 hours in solitary confinement for 8 months. They think that's normal. That we throw away our kids like that. He's 17. We all make mistakes. It's like this is a problem. You got black men who have atoned for their sins, who have paid their debt to society, who are family men, who want to be good men, who want to be better men, are not given the chance they deserve. I'm going to tell you something too. Working with people is very draining. When you are a light worker like I am, I'm an empath, I'm a light worker. A lot of people don't got no expectations. They don't know what excellence really is. They don't have a standard. People take people like me for granted because I believe in standards. I believe in some type of integrity. I got a moral compass that actually works. I'm not going to take myself for granted no more. A lot of people don't deserve me. I realize that now. I didn't know a lot of people didn't like me like that, but my energy is telling me something else. And so I love Jimmy Lunsford. And I'm going to do what I can to keep his name known in this city, to build a legacy, because it's working. Even like the pushback or the lack of response I get, I ain't trying to take credit for what they've been doing, but Central High School Jazz Band is the world's greatest jazz band. It's the greatest high school jazz band in the world. They won that Duke Ellington competition against all world comers from Spain, Japan, from the best here. Memphis Jazz Workshop, which helped train students in the art of jazz in Memphis and Shelby County schools. I remember I had a conversation with the founder and director, brilliant guy named Dr. Stephen Lee. I remember like it was yesterday, this is back in 2017. I was talking to him and I talked to him about Jimmy Lunsford. I believe it was 2017. I was in a parking lot of McDonald's in Collierville. He said, I never heard of Jimmy Lunsford. I told him about Jimmy Lunsford and what he was able to do in Memphis, how he was the first to teach jazz studies in a formal educational setting in any place in the world. And now he took his best high school students and buddies from Fisk and formed the greatest swing band of his generation. The number one attraction of the Power Theater for a whole decade. Learn how to fly airplanes, brought his own airplanes, fly the gigs and everything. Man, like he was a superhero. Our people love Jimmy Lunsford. He was the number one band. It wasn't Duke and Count Basie or Chick Webb. It was Jimmy Lunsford was the band of choice for Black people in America. He was the music hero of Quincy Jones and Miles Davis when they was coming of age. So my thing is, how can you forget a man that gave so much back to his community, who wanted to live among his people, who wanted his people to be successful, who started music education programs to help create a rite of passage for Black boys and girls, who also wanted to start a retirement community for Black musicians. You don't forget people like that, but yet we forget people like this time and time again. And we also forget their message that they were sent to deliver, which is more important than actually the person. It's not about the messenger, it's about the message. So with that said, I want to end this here. We're going to have a change in Memphis and Shelby County. Ain't going to be business as usual. We're going to have some God-sent people, some light workers who's willing to do the work for the people. Sometimes, I don't like to be around a lot of people because people could be very draining, but I'm still going to do the work for the people by any means necessary. We're gonna need light workers. We're gonna need people committed to God and to an awesome vision for the city of Memphis and for the nation and for the world to actually come out and just shine your light as bright as you can, so we all can see each other light and we can connect our lights to shine an even greater light through all this darkness that we find out, because we are fighting spiritual warfare, folks. I've been through so much stuff. I can't even begin. I'll write a memoir about it, whatever. This year long, I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, but I still keep my eyes on the prize. So with that said, this is very important. Y'all keep your eyes on the prize, or y'all develop that third eye and magnify. And maybe the universe, so God will bless you with your own pair of magic glasses. So I'm gonna play this tribute to Mr. James Melvin Lunsford. We're still gonna do the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Awards this coming spring. We're gonna announce the theme and in the lineup and all that. But I'm looking forward to having the financial support, the community support, and all that stuff coming through, because God got big plans. And if you're not a part of this team, this movement, you need to stand on the sidelines, get the hell out the way. We're gonna run you over. We're not asking for permission this time around. This is gonna be a great coming, and I'm excited. Even though I'm tired right now, I'm not discouraged. But I want to play another world premiere. It's my Jimmy Lunsford song, Rhythm. Rhythm of Life Was His Business. It's a Jimmy Lunsford thing. It's like a world premiere, like the Thaddeus song. We're gonna have it available on all streaming platforms and some other stuff coming soon. And please tell me what you think about it in the comments and stuff like that, or whatever, when you decide to listen to the podcast. So I'm gonna put that out there. I'm just setting up. I feel he a scary cat. He disappeared because I talked to Real. And I know Phil be knowing some stuff I'm talking about. He had like I'm crazy. Oh, I don't know, Brother Hurd. Brother Ron, I don't see you coming up. And he quiet now. You know, he got off this phone. It's so crazy, man. I can't make this up. My life is interesting. And like all you adults that say y'all bored, how can y'all be bored? My life is just a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'm never bored. I'm always got something going on. It's always something happening. So I don't understand when y'all say I'm bored. I said, once y'all hang around me, but then I don't want to allow y'all hang around me, because then once y'all find out how this life thing's supposed to be lived, y'all won't stay away from me. That's how that works. But anyway, y'all, play this world premiere of my Jimmy Lunsford song, Rhythm of Life Was His Business. Y'all tell me how you like in the comments when y'all can, and share with your friends, because this is we all be in it to win it. One love.
Rhythm was his business, and he did it well.
Although you went to your blue heaven over 70 years ago, your songs and films are still around, entertaining another generation of unsuspecting yet joyful fans. However, it could be said that you are the true most known unknown. No disrespect to 3-6 Mafia, just rhyme and reason, unzungingly so. Hello! You started the first Memphis and Shelby County schools jazz music education program without help or money from the miseducation system at Manassas High. Even today, they still act like they don't have any money for the youthful masses. Unless when it comes to paying off incompetent gatekeepers, cronies, and other useless assets. You took 9 young, ambitious, and eager boys from New Chicago and North Memphis and made them anew and into men by sharing your love and gift of music. Your band of merry men earthed the comforts of Memphis and Manassas High School in 1934 perceived greener, greater and jazzier pastures to parts unknown even to you and your crew. In spite of lack of funds, you were determined to make your mark by playing with the house's money, a true game of chance with the will to be free. Your drive and insistence outweighed financial difficulties and man's indifference. Through true hustle and flow, you became the #1 jazz band for all African Americans in the land. Earning the nickname the Harlem Express, your band started to broadcast live from the good old Cotton Club in the year of our Lord 1984. And you became the American Idol of Miles Davis, Quincy Jones, Glenn Miller, and many, many more. Your genius in action was immortalized in film while your orchestra played blues in the night. Eugene Lunsford led a music revolution in swing time and created a jazznocracy. Your band was the biggest attraction at the Apollo Theater for 10 straight years and was the first to play an integrated audience at the Paramount Theater. You were the toast of the town, the king of New York. You were the master and commander as well as the undisputed champ of the battle of the bands. Your band was considered the greatest by the masses. Not chicks, not dukes, not even counts mattered. You was a king uncrowned with no country to rule, and yet you still practiced the golden rule. You never forgot your roots and went back to plant more seeds with the glee and joy of a Johnny Appleseed. And my oh my, look at the beautiful fruits your tree bears. Rhythm bombers Isaac Hayes, Booker T. Jones, Dee Dee Bridgewater's, Booker Little's, Finney's newborns, George Coleman's, Catherine Perry Thomas, Arthur Lee's, Charles Lloyd's, Emerson Abel's, Maurice White's, Larry Lee's, and Johnny Ace's, oh my. And yes, indeed, so much more. You just didn't climb mountains, you also flew over them. You flew and owned your own airplane at a time when the government tried not to teach the Tuskegee Airmen how to fly, kill and die for good old Uncle Sam. You always embraced equality and never inequity. Always strive for excellence and never settled for mediocrity. Your dreams and ambitions knew no bounds or limitations. You was on top of the world until a racist hate-mongering white man snatched your life with Apollo Sandman. Like efficiency, the curtains closed and the lights went dim once you left the stage. You used your God-given gifts to warm humanity's heart and soul, and yet the city of good abode has left one of her favorite sons forgotten and out in the cold. Where is the brass note on Beale? Where are the markers? Where are the eulogies? Where's the outrage? Where's the love? Why so much indifference and hostility? They are still missing. However, one day in the heat of the August night in the 60th year of your passing, an artivist had an epiphany. Resurrect Jimmy's memory by teaching his story to the citizens who can't even recall his memory or shamefully neglect history. What can profit a people if they have no identity? The hope endures, the dream never dies, and the beat goes on. Lunsford lives! Lunsford lives! The rhythm of life is our business! The rhythm of life is our business!
Now, Phil, what you were saying about the song? What you think about the song? Phil. Brother Phil, you can talk. That man went away again. He was talking. He loved the song so much. Man, Phil be running away. I said, Phil, what you think about the song? He was like trying to talk before the song got finished. Now he won't come back on. Phil, come back on, man. Phil, are you there? Anyway, I just want to play that. That's my Jimmy Lunsford song I did. And those are my lyrics. I actually wrote those lyrics, I want to say about 2008 or something like that. Maybe 2007, 2008. So I'm just using the technology to create these songs to talk about our history. I'm finding different ways to tell our story through song. You know, I play my trumpet. You know, I draw, I write, you know, all that stuff. Now, this is the era where I want to, you know, start getting, you know, recognized for that, you know, my contribution, not just just being an interviewer of people, but also being an interpreter of our story and telling it in creative ways by any means necessary. That's the new chapter part of that. And you know, if y'all want to support what we're doing, please feel free to support, because I'm gonna be hitting the road, getting some more interviews, getting some more research done, and hopefully my tribe will support that. You know, if you have benefited from the work I have done over the years, being consistent and giving, feel free to cash out your support, $R2C2H2. You can join the patreon.com/weallbe to support as well. I got some surprises coming up very soon, but I'm just getting my life recalibrated, because I've been a people-pleasing simp for too long, and those days are over. I can't do it no more, folks. People, like, they will just take advantage and just drag you down. Family, friends, and strangers. Where now I'm saying no to people, boundaries, but I'm saying yes to life. I'm saying yes to the God work that I was put here to do in the first place. Let's get that done by any means necessary. Cash App, $R2C2H2. PayPal and Zelle, R2C2H2 @gmail.com. Vimo at R2C2H2. Apple Cash, 901-299-4355. And also patreon.com/weallbe. I want to thank everybody who's been sending me good words of encouragement through text, email, phone calls. See me out in public, you recognize, you embrace me, you tell me how much I've been of an inspiration for your journey. I'm glad to be of service. That will keep me going, actually, to know that I am of good service, and I try to be of good cheer. I'm actually, you know, I don't know, man. I just think that life is interesting, because Jimmy Lonsford was 45 when he got taken out of here. Something about your 40s, you start thinking about things in a different way than in your 20s and even 30s. You start thinking about, like, you know, 2 years, 5 years, like, you know, where I want to be at and stuff like that. I know exactly where I want to be, and ain't nobody else gonna put me there but me and God. You know, ain't nobody gonna deny me my rightful spot but me and God. And so that's where I go. I don't mind being a loner, man. I really don't. I'm of the people. I'm for the people, but sometimes it's like Neely Fuller said, you don't want to get too many black people together if we don't know what the cause is or the plan of action. And I'm realizing that I'm gonna start staying out of people's way, but I'm gonna make a way for myself and what I'm trying to do. And whoever want to join me on that front, you are more than welcome, because we're living in a jazzocracy. So I want to thank everybody for tuning out, to tune in to get in where you fit in. All right, thank you. Somebody's listening out there. Thank you so much. I'm making it available. I'm gonna do some more tributes, because God said, you know, utilize technology. Thank you so much, sister. Appreciate your support. I've been doing podcasts longer than some people been alive that's doing podcasts. That's how long I've been doing. I've been doing this since January the 7th, 2007. I had a YouTube channel started in January 2009. They undermined it. It's weird how they want to censor the truth. Like somebody told me recently, I said, man, they be doing so much to, I guess, shadow ban, like, you know, undermine my algorithm effectiveness. Like, I've been working so hard, you know, editing videos, re-uploading, doing content. It's like it's not going nowhere, but people can help with that. Share the content, push it, comment, engage. I will do my best to start engaging more. Push this stuff. I'm trying to find out different ways to get the message out there, because YouTube want to block certain people. It's funny how they elevate certain people and things and want to block other people. But I'm not going to give up, give out, or give in, because that's not in my DNA. Failure is not in my DNA. So now I'm looking at Facebook. I'm getting some reception on Facebook, so I'll be posting on that, Instagram. I might go back to TikTok, but TikTok keep me off for telling the truth. I didn't do nothing that was explicit or disrespectful. And I see things on TikTok I did that were very disrespectful, very, you know, degenerate, just very low vibrational. Let's say I said degenerate, but low vibrational. But it's the way the world is wicked. You understand? Everything is upside down. So, like, I can understand now that if you got to work with people, you got to have a little bit of wickedness in you. You got to be a little bit off. Not necessarily awful, but you got to be, because, like, they don't want excellence. Like, the powers that think they be, they want to undermine excellence. They want to drain that energy for their own selfish ends, but they want to undermine people reaching their full potential. Like I said, Memphis is known for our warehouses. We're a plantation town. We need to stop warehousing talent and unleash it in the spirit of Jimmy Lunsford and Lucy Campbell and W.T. McDaniel and Nat D. Williams. Unleash our spiritual beast for good. Memphis is the promised land. We are at that time. Those that know. That's why there's a rush to get all these resources out of Memphis. That's why Elon's down there. He said he's raising a new God, a new religion. That's why they're in Memphis, to get that energy. Because Black people, we are the vibranium. We got to start utilizing our vibranium for us. Don't give it away. Stop giving away. I've been giving away my vibranium. Now I want my vibranium to vibrate and elevate me, baby. So that said, thank you all for all tuning out to tune in again. And when you fit in, like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. Phil, you got something to say? You a scaredy cat. You a coward, Phil. Sad, because when I close this podcast, you're going to be talking and talking. I'm going to shut you down. Say something or hold your peace, Phil. Say something right now. Phil, you a coward? I guess he in his feelings. I thought this would be artificial intelligence. I guess they got feelings too. Watch when I ain't gonna be able to watch it. I gotta record it, so you're gonna start talking and talking. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning out to tune in to get in when you fit in. You like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. Share with your friend, Brother Herb. I'm one of the best to do it. I already know it because I be listening to myself, put me to sleep. When I wake up, I have so much knowledge and so much get-go. I see what people like about me. They will also make me dangerous. That's why the powers they think they be want to subvert and undermine and distort my message. It said, maybe doing podcasts since 2007, but True Teller with a microphone since 98. Ah, yeah. Thank you. I received that. I mean, it's a commitment, man. I got cousins. They thought they could start like their traveling podcast and all that stuff. Then I said, like, what, are you still in your podcast? Like just a couple months later, nah, man, it's too much work. People don't understand the work it takes to do this, just to get up here and to share. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is real. Because people act like I'm making money. I'm not making no money. Man, I gotta still wake up in the morning and go clean toilets and stuff. And I got advanced degrees and stuff like that. But I remember a colleague. Now I work for a Black-owned business, professional cleaning services, great company, great people. The owners are wonderful, beautiful people. They are some of the best people to ever work for. They're very forgiving. They're very fair. They're beautiful people, and it shows in the work. But I remember I had these brothers on. They professional men. They're supervisors. They're making like maybe high 5, 6 figures. They was on my platform. They was told by their bosses, don't go on that guy's platform no more. You can't. You gonna lose your job. You lose your promotion. So I remember one of the brothers that used to come to the show, he saw me this week when I was working in his location. And he invited me to lunch. He paid for lunch. I appreciate it. He ate good, man. 2 straight days. He's a good brother. But like I told him, I can understand why y'all don't want to get on my platform, because you don't want to end up cleaning toilet bowls like me. And you got to understand, Dr. King came to Memphis and he was killed trying to help sanitation workers, Black sanitation workers. And so people understand, like Dr. King said, if you got a job, be the best at what you do. If you are a street sweeper, sweep them streets like you was Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. I take pride in what I do, whether it's cleaning for the people, whether it's feeding the people. I take pride in it. I don't care what I'm going through. I do care about what I'm going through, but I look at it like this: 100 years from now, people ain't gonna care what I went through if they ever know my name. Because like Baba Dick Greg would say, sometimes when the universal God chooses you, doesn't leave any evidence that you were the one that initiate the change. Thank y'all. Be the change y'all want. Be the change we need. Where's Duke Ellington? We love you madly. Words of Brother Ron. In the words of Brother Ron, keep on producing and pushing. One love. Love y'all. Seriously. Think about supporting. We got some big things coming up for y'all. Y'all won't regret supporting We All Be, because we all be in it to win it. One love and good night.